Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Maotwe.
Greetings to the President and Commander-in-Chief, Julius Malema, officials, EFF members of Parliament, the people of South Africa, grand forces of this protest movement that is taking the fight to the picket lines this year. House Chair, year in, year out, Mr. Ramaphosa comes here and make promises without accounting for the promises he made the previous year. It's as if he's permanently on a reset button. And the sad thing is, every time he opens his mouth, more and more people become statistics of unemployment, of poverty, of rape and murder. Mr. Ramaphosa, why don't you rather keep quiet and go look after your ankole in Palapala farm? Because you are the elephant in the room. There's no hope for our youth. Men and women are lingering in the streets of South Africa in absolute poverty and despair. We've listened to the submissions by the members of the former liberation movement and their allies, the right-wing new liberal forces who are waging a war against Bella, the NHI, expropriation of land without compensation, and all progressive and transformative legislation. We will meet on the picket lines, in the streets, and everywhere our people need us to fight for service delivery, to fight against injustices, fight against corruption and maladministration, and to restore the dignity of a black child. We will never retreat. Commander-in-Chief, when President Cyril Ramaphosa said in his first and second State of Nation addresses in 2018 and 2019 that they had a plan for critical areas of investment that would support structural transformation, growth and job creation, what exactly was he talking about? Because since then, we've seen nothing but suffering, deepening unemployment, and rising costs of living. Mr. Ramaphosa, when you started in 2018 and said, Tumamina, the price of bread was 12 rand. Today is 22 rand. The price of a liter of petrol was 15 rands. Today is 25 rands. The price of 2.5 milli meal was 21 rand 84 cents. Today is 39 rand 19 cents. Our people cannot afford to eat. In 2018, 8.9 million people were unemployed. Today, 11.4 million people are without jobs. Their futures are stolen by this government's incompetence. When you said your government planned to create 275,000 jobs a year in 2019, we knew then that young people, the unemployed, the dejected masses of our people were doomed forever. How can you aim to create 275 jobs a year when more than 12 million people are unemployed today? It would take 25 years to reduce unemployment to 5 million and a further 43 years to eradicate unemployment completely. You won't be here, President, in the next 25 years, let alone 43 years, because nature would have resolved our problems. As we speak, there are no jobs. There is no plan to create jobs. There is no link between the government budget and job creation. There's no link between South African Reserve Bank monetary policy and job creation. Your government does not want to create jobs for our people. It just refuses to create jobs for our people. In 2018, 83 municipalities received a qualified audit. Today, 85 municipalities have failed to meet financial accountability standards. There's a complete failure to stabilize municipalities. Mr. Ramaphosa, in 2018, more than 172,000 learners passed matric, and many could be accommodated in institutions of higher learning. Today, more than 135,000 students who achieved a bachelor's pass will not have space at the university due to limited availability. The dreams of young people have been shattered. Their futures are in limbo because your government has no vision, no direction, and no will to change their lives. The reality is that South Africa is in the middle of a deep economic crisis, a concoction of disastrous economic policies, a lack of coordination, and relentless budget cuts in education, in health, policing, food security, and all essential and critical areas of service delivery. This is made worse by the collapse of municipalities, which is the complete opposite of your growth and renewal program that you promised us in 2018. The reality is that ever since you took office 7 years ago, our economy has not grown by more than 2%. We are talking about an average growth rate of 0.6% since 2018. Only people who approach policy and politics like a game of murabaraba or China will produce such a disastrous economic outcome, and that's you, Mr. Ramaphosa. You told us that the revitalization of 10 out of 16 industrial parks in places such as Botshabelo, Putadichaba, Garankuwa, East Tebe, Komani, and Seshego was complete in 2020. But go to Botshabelo today or Putadichaba and tell us if anything was ever revitalized. House Chair, allow me to turn to the SOEs. The EFF was the only political party that correctly characterized the deliberate sabotage and collapse of SOEs as a privatization project. We are not surprised that today, one of the most strategic entities, Transnet, which used to move over 200 million tons of cargo and annum, used to employ more than 55,000 people and reported over 6,000 billion rands in profit, is now being called inefficient. Today, we are told that the private sector must come and rescue Transnet. Eskom's coal fleet was allowed to collapse, and we were subjected to more than a decade of electricity blackouts because people wanted to profit from electricity generation. They wanted their friends and cronies, the independent power producers, to milk Eskom. You even came here, Mr. Ramaphosa, and claimed that there has not been load shedding in 300 days when we experienced load shedding just 2 weeks ago. We're told that SAA was making billions in losses and was supposed to be sold for 51 rands. Yet today, it is making a profit, operating without any governmental support and barely surviving. We're calling for the expansion of SAA mandate and operating routes that support our economic development with allies and trade partners in Asia and the Global South. There is no plan to rebuild and stabilize Denel, and there is no intention to rebuild South Africa's defense capabilities. Mr. Ramaphosa, you were boasting about 375,000 billion rands that will be spent by SOEs on infrastructure over the next 3 years. But where will they spend this money when you are privatizing everything? Even the delivery of water is privatized through the so-called 23 billion rands infrastructure fund. Mr. Ramaphosa, you told us that your neoliberal right-wing coalition government will spend 940 billion rands in the next 3 years. That's 313 billion rands a year for a country that has a housing backlog of more than 3 million houses, more than 400,000 kilometers of gravel roads that needs to be tarred, more than 300,000 beds short at institutions of higher learning. What is 940 billion rands? We haven't even touched on the collapse of water and sanitation infrastructure in municipalities, the collapse of telecommunication infrastructure due to crime and vandalism, and the general shortage of water. Mr. Ramaphosa, let me help you give your government proper direction. We need to expropriate land without compensation. We need a state bank, and we need it urgently. We had banks here in Parliament last week, and it is clear that they are not interested in the reindustrialization of the South African economy. So the state must take the lead. We need to finalize the nationalization of the South African Reserve Bank. We have no time to waste on this. We need to establish a grant for all unemployed graduates and all unemployed persons as a matter of agency. This, Mr. President, will do two things. It will stimulate the much-needed demand in the economy, and it will give unemployed people some means of survival. President, we must, as a matter of agency, engage our allies and partners in BRICS Plus to source strategic knowledge to build massive railway, health, military, and energy infrastructure projects. This should include build, operate, transfer models, but we must fund it with our own money and access their skills and technology. As a matter of agency, Mr. President, we must allocate funds to the South African Post Office and give it a clear directive to fix and reopen all its branches. We know that a criminal syndicate is selling off support properties to their friends and cronies. Mr. Ramaphosa, the time is now to take bold and decisive steps to reindustrialize South Africa. We need to turn our country into a manufacturing hub and create jobs for our people. South Africa's economy must not be designed to please imperialist forces and the so-called markets at the expense of the lives of our people. We need to put our people and jobs first. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Stofile.